I'm truly energized by this afternoon, and not just because I had a quiet evening at home last night. I treated myself to a glass of wine and a rom-com. You may have watched Love Actually, and it was good. It was good. But I love it that you're joining in this conversation this afternoon. I love it, Lynn, that you're the champion of people's theatre and coined the notion of arts organisations being town halls, spaces where people can come together. And I love it that there are great examples of practice in this country and all over the world. There's a photograph that's going to be shown there. And it's not the greatest. I think I took this photograph. It's probably why it's not the greatest photograph, but the image is important. These individuals, every single one of them, is a homeless person. Now, our sense of homelessness in this country is altogether different from what it means to be homeless in Brazil. Here we have too many people sleeping on the streets, but in Brazil, almost everybody that is homeless, they don't just sleep on the streets, they sleep in bushes, they sleep under bypasses, they have lives which are truly cut off from the mainstream. And what's great about this project, inspired by the example of Streetwise Opera working with the Royal Opera House in 2012, is that in the run-up to the Olympic Games, hundreds of homeless people took to the streets. They rose up in song and really showed what they could do. Now, the thing about these people is that they didn't just do the odd performance, they did a week-long performance, popping up in iconic venues. This venue is the Museum of Tomorrow. The imagery of what could be may not be lost on you. And that's really at the heart of why we wanted to launch this inquiry. It is about practice like this. And we've supported projects like this for many years. But we've also sought to draw out the learning, to spread the learning, to draw out the lessons for policy, and published a whole series of reports. And the one I want to draw particular attention to is one called Support for the Arts in England and Wales, 1976, under the authorship of a civil servant, Lord Redcliffe Maud. And his headline conclusion was that local authorities should be the chief patrons of the arts, a notion which some of us may feel is under threat today. So when we thought about moving forward, repeating that exercise, publishing something that could amplify these projects and others like it, play into the systems of policy and funding, we wanted to break through that sort of old-fashioned language of the intrinsic versus the instrumental, to push beyond the work that's been done about access and education and envisage what that could mean in the 21st century, really to promote the notion that great art is indeed for everyone. And the reason why that's important is because more than ever we live in a fractured society. Some of us have been disturbed, at the very least, by what's been happening over the past few months. Picture of society is broken, adrift, discontented. And I believe passionately that the arts has a role to play in reaching out to the underserved and bringing people back into the mainstream. So the approach that we've taken is this, and I'll avoid a rendition of the 12 Days of Christmas, but we've had 14 public consultations. We've had 4 deep dives in particular locations: Great Yarmouth, Nottingham, Basingstoke, and Sunderland. Important to remember all of these places. 4 artist commissions. There'll be some of the artists in this room, I'm sure, today. 3 partners and this event. And we're going to take that forward to analyze some of the findings that we've gathered from the literature reviews and the interviews that have been taking place. But allow me just to give you some headlines, and I don't want to upstage our partners here, but the headline message from the work that's come out so far is that the notion of arts organizations having a civic role resonates. It resonates with people in this room and further afield. Now, it's not without its complications. But the interesting thing is that people say that they think about it more than they talk about it. Now, there's another headline besides that I want to share as well, and it is that of the range of definitions that they think of when they conjure up the notion of civic. They think particularly of citizens, of communities, and of learning. And that plays very much into the work of the advisory panel that we've had, which designed, inspired 3 metaphors: arts organisations as places of learning, arts organisations as town halls, arts organisations as parks, all supported by great civic leaders in their localities. So we think that this is a really important piece of work. We're absolutely delighted that you're joining in this conversation. And I feel really passionately that we can go further, not just to celebrate the great practice that exists, but to hold a mirror up to ourselves, challenge ourselves as to whether it's really good enough. Now, you all know the debates about corporate social responsibility. Now, I believe that actually, that if we're going to put businesses on the hook, we can't get off the hook ourselves either. We can do better. We can do better for the communities we serve, and indeed bring joy and hope to the places which feel so disconnected today.